From the beginning, I believed whatever I was told. Downright lies even, about how best to behave, although I had my own inclinations. At an age when other Nigerian girls were masters at 10-10, the game in which we stamped our feet in rhythm and tried to outwit partners with sudden knee jerks, my favorite moments were spent sitting on a jetty pretending to fish. My worst was to hear my mother shout from her kitchen window, "Eniton, come and help in here." I'd run back to the house. We lived by Lagos Lagoon. Our yard stretched over an acre and was surrounded by a high wooden fence that could drive splinters into careless fingers. I played carelessly on the west side because the east side bordered the mangroves of Ikoyi Park and had once seen a water snake slither past. Hot, hot were the days, as I remember them, with runny-egg sunshine and brief breezes. The early afternoons were for eat and sleep breaks. Eat a heavy lunch, sleep like a drunk. The late afternoons, after homework, I spent on our jetty, a short wooden promenade I could walk in 3 steps if I took long enough strides to strain the muscles between my thighs. I would sit on its cockle-plastered edge and wait for the water to lap at my feet. Fling my fishing rod, which was made from tree branch, string, and a cork from one of my father's discarded wine bottles. Sometimes fishermen came close, rowing in a rhythm that pleased me more than chewing on fried tripe. Their skins charred, almost grey from sun-dried sea salt. They spoke in the warble of Ireland people, yodeling across their canoes. I was never tempted to jump into the lagoon as they did. It gave off the smell of raw fish and was the kind of dirty brown I knew would taste like vinegar. Plus, everyone knew about the current that could drag a person away. Bodies usually showed up days later, bloated, stiff, and rotten. True. It wasn't that I had big dreams of catching fish. They wriggled too much and I couldn't imagine watching another living being suffocate. But my parents had occupied everywhere else with their fallings out. Their trespasses unforgivable. Walls could not save me from the shouting. A pillow, if I stuffed my head under it, could not save me. My hands could not, if I clamped them over my ears and stuffed my head under a pillow. So there it was, the jetty, my protectorate, until the day my mother decided it was to be demolished. The priest in her church had a vision of fishermen breaking into her house. They would come at night, they would come unarmed, they would steal valuables. The very next day, 3 workmen replaced our jetty with a barbed wire fence, and my mother kept watch over them, the same way she watched our neighbors, the same way she checked our windows for evil spirits outside at night, the same way she glared at our front door long after my father had walked out. I knew he would be furious. He was away on a law conference, and when he returned and saw her new fence, he ran outside shouting like a crazed man. Nothing would stop my mother, he said, until she destroyed everything in our house because of that church of hers. What kind of woman was she? What kind of selfish, uncaring woman was she? He enjoyed that view. Warm, breezy evenings on the veranda overlooking it is how I remember him, easy as the cane chair in which he sat. He was usually there in the dry season, which lasted most of the year, scarcely in the chilly harmattan, which straddled Christmas and New Year, and never in the swampy rainy season that made our veranda floor slippery over the summer vacation. I would sit on the steps and watch him and his 2 friends, Uncle Alex, a sculptor who smoked a pipe that smelled like melted coconut, and Uncle Fatai, who made me laugh because his name fitted his roly-poly face. He too was a lawyer, like my father, and they had all been at Cambridge together. 3 musketeers in the heart of darkness, they called themselves there. They stuck together and hardly anyone spoke to them. Sometimes they frightened me with their stories of Western Nigeria, which my father called the Wild West, where people threw car tires over other people and set them on fire because they belonged to different political factions. Uncle Alex blamed the British for the fighting. Them and their bloody empire. Come here and divide our country like one of their bloody tea cakes, driving on the left side of the bloody road. The day the Civil War broke out, he delivered the news. Uncle Fatai arrived soon afterward, and they bent heads as if in prayer to listen to the radio. Through the years, from their arguments about Federalists, secessionists, and bloody British, I'd amassed as much knowledge about the events in my country as any 7-year-old could. I knew that our first Prime Minister was killed by a Major General, that the Major General was soon killed, and that we had another Major General heading our country. For a while, the palaver had stopped, and now it seemed the Biafrans were trying to split our country in two.